On Introduction to Java Programming from myprojecthelp.com. We are very proud to bring this webinar today to you. We have an excellent speaker, Pranavi, who will be discussing the concepts of Java programming today. But before we get into that, I just wanted to take a quick 30 seconds and orient everyone to the screen that you'll be seeing. At this point in time, you should be seeing a screen that says Introduction to Java Programming. If you do not see that and if you're having trouble, please click on the email link that you got from GoToWebinars and try to log in again. You should be hearing this audio, and to your right hand side on your screen at the bottom there is a chat and questions window, and through the presentation we will be taking questions from the audience. So if you have a question, please go ahead and type it in the chat and question box and send it to us. We can look at the question, and our speakers and will be uh, answering those questions. As I said, we are very proud to have Pranavi as a speaker here. If we can go to the next slide here. A real quick orientation to myprojecthelp.com. Most of you have visited our website and you're familiar with the concepts. Really, our goal here at myprojecthelp.com is really to help entry-level professionals, gain the knowledge and the training and the expertise they need to have successful careers in the IT industry. That's our primary motive here. We have a lot of professionals who like to help people, and that's what we're all about. We like helping people, and this bringing this free live webinar is part of that. That defines us. And today we have Pranavi, who has done extensive training of Java courses to over 200 people, and we are very lucky to have her to do a very basic introduction to the Java technologies. And while Pranavi is talking about her experience, I would like to send a poll question to you all, just so we know our audience and that we can tailor the talk. Just take a quick second to answer how well you know Java. Click one of the boxes and hit the submit button, and we'll get started with Pranavi right after that in about 10 seconds from now. Again, as we go through the webinar, if you have any questions, please send them to the chat box. We'll be monitoring them and answering them all through the talk as well as at the end of the talk. And thank you for your patience. And Pranavi, here you go. Thank you.
Thank you, Ravi, and thank you, myprojecthelp.com, for giving me this opportunity today. As Ravi said, my name is Pranavi, and have more than 9 years of Java experience. Currently, I'm working with one of the insurance company. I have worked on Java J2E technologies with all the latest technologies like Struts, Hibernate, web services, Spring, different technologies. So before going to Java, many of you would have heard or listened nowadays stating I'm working on so-and-so project or so-and-so application. So let's see what an application means, or what is an application. An application, basically, it refers to a software program with which we create things like a Microsoft document or a Yahoo Mail or a Google like search engine, Yahoo Mail through which you'll be sending emails every day to day, and Google search. So these are some of the examples of applications which have been created and which are popular in the market. So we create applications using some software program. How do we create these applications? So in order to develop applications, we need some programming languages. So what are different programming languages which are available in the market are like C, C++, Java, .NET, PHP, and many new frameworks available in the market. So since our topic of discussion is Java, what Java is. So what is Java? As we have already seen, Java is one of the programming languages. So with Java, what we can develop then? We can develop standalone applications, web applications, wireless applications. So these are some of the applications with Java we can create. So let's see how a standalone application looks like. A standalone application looks something like this, which are usually our desktop applications. The best example would be Lotus Notes. For example, for our company, we have developed one of the desktop application called Comparative Rater Bridge, which basically what it does is it is an application through which different insurance companies rating amounts can be seen, the premium amounts, and different companies. For any agent, he can have this desktop application on his desktop, and through which he can know for his so and so criteria what are the different premiums, or what is the amount this so and so insurance company is giving. So this is one of the example of a standalone application. An enterprise Java application, or also we can say web applications. Any typical web application will have this architecture which I'm showing. So like Yahoo Mail is the best example I can say is a web application. For any web application, through a browser, to enter some data, and the data will be submitted to either a web server or to an application server. So a server will be acts as a middleware which receives this data, and then once it receives the data, if it does some validation whether the data entered is right or wrong, and whether it's a good data. So once that validation is done, server either it interacts with the database, or it may interact with some other application through web services. So once it interacts, it collects a resultant output, I can say, or resultant document, and then once server receives that, it responds back to the browser, and through the browser you'll be seeing the output displayed on the screen. So for any typical web application, this will happen. So this is a basic architecture of a web application. So through Java, we can develop web applications or enterprise applications. And the third type of application I said is wireless application, which typically looks something like this. So Java is so sophisticated and so hot in the market, it will create many of the applications have been created. So if we choose Java as our career path, so what are the opportunities it has right now in the market? So if you choose Java as a career, initially you will be joining in a company as a programmer. As you gain your experience, you will be going as an analyst, and then as a senior analyst, then you'll be going as a Java architect, project managers, project leaders, so and so. So there are really very good opportunities in the current market for Java. So why is that Java so hot in the market? I mean, yeah, we have seen so many programming languages and so many frameworks. So what exactly is special about Java? Why is it so popular? So let's see some of the features of Java. Before going to the features of Java, let's know. I would like to know how many of you are aware of Java programming language. How many of you are aware of it? So let's see. I'll wait for 10 seconds. You can post your reply.
while people are responding to this poll, I just wanted to mention that we got about roughly 50% of the people saying that they don't know Java, or and then about 25% around beginner level, and 25% are at the intermediate level. So this is an excellent talk for everybody who is coming through, because it's oriented towards beginners and intermediates and explains the concepts surrounding that.
Thank you, Ravi.
Okay. You can go ahead now, Pranavi. Sorry.
Oh, thank you. So let's see what are the features of Java. So I think that this session would be perfectly right because this is really a basics and introduction to Java who are really, it's for the beginners. So I think this session would be really useful for whoever is attending. So we have seen like, okay, before going to the features of Java, I have said like with Java we can develop, or we have seen so many applications can be developed. So what do you exactly need to develop Java applications? For the basic Java development, you need just JDK. We can download from sun.com. The latest version of JDK is 1.5, which is also termed as Java 5. And you need a notepad or a text pad. So you need, for basic Java development, just to develop a Java application, you need JDK and the notepad or text pad. That would be enough. But if you are developing a big applications like enterprise applications, maybe our web applications, then you may also need an IDE. So what is IDE? An integrated development and debugging environment. What does this mean is, it's nothing but a software where it will have all the software configured in it. So you don't have to specially configure anything. So once you have an IDE, you download an IDE, you will have everything configured for you, and you can just start writing your programs, or you can start creating your applications. So some of the examples of IDEs currently in the market are Eclipse, MyEclipse. Eclipse is freely downloadable. You can download it. And NetBeans and IBM RSA. So MyEclipse is, I think you need to pay a couple of bucks, around $30 per month or so. And it's really good. It has some special features apart from Eclipse. And it's also based on the Eclipse. NetBeans and IBM RSA. IBM from IBM RSA, this is really very, very expensive. Usually it will be in big companies. They'll be using this, where you'll be developing your application. So which will have all your server configured and your debugging environment, everything set up for you. So this is RSA is one of the IDE, and which is really expensive. So if you go to any company, you might be, most of the applications nowadays for Java or developed on or using WebSphere as their server. So you might be seeing IBM RSA as their IDE, which they'll be using. So these are the minimum requirements which you need to develop Java applications. So let's go into features of Java. What are the features of Java? Java is platform independence. It has the feature of platform independence. It supports automatic memory management. Java is both a compiler as well as an interpreter. It supports object-oriented concepts, which are also called OOP concepts. It supports multi-threading or threading. It has rich built-in networking concepts. So because of these features, Java has all these features. Because of this and all these functionalities, it's become so popular. So let's see what are these features mean. Platform independence. When you write a program in C or C++, and when you try to compile that program, those programs, they usually get converted to .exe file. So when you write a C or C++ program and when you compile the program, it will become or it will get converted to .exe file. So what are .exe files are? .exe file is nothing but which will have all the executable instructions along with the system information where it was compiled. So exe file usually will have, along with the instructions, the executable instructions, it will also have system information. Whereas when we compile Java programs, they get converted to .class files. So .class files, what are these? These are nothing but which will have only executable instructions but without any system information. So what was the advantage, or what does this mean? Means when these exe files, since they have system information, when you try to take those exe files and execute on some other operating systems or some other environment, those exe files may not get executed because they have already have system information carried along with the executable instructions. Whereas Java files, they get converted to .class files, it do not carry any system information, which will just have executable instructions. So when you take these .class files and run on any environment, they run perfectly fine. So that's why Java is said to be platform independent. So they can run on any platform, on any environment without any problem. So this is one of the best features of Java. Let's go on to the next feature, which is automatic memory management. So how does Java, so I'm saying Java has a feature of automatic memory management. So how does it do? Usually, when we write any Java program, so then for any Java program, we say we use class and the name of the class. So class space name of the class. So I can say a class can be referred to as a file. Like if you compare with C or C++, you can say our class is referred to as a file. So when we create a Java program saying some class A and we write some functionality within that, for any class, if you wanted to make use of it, we need to create an instance or an object. What does that mean is we need to allocate some memory to that to make use of the functionality within the class. So if we wanted to make use of the functionality of the class, we need to create an instance, that is an object is created, which means and memory has been allotted for that. So there is a class A and its instance has been created, so something like object A. And there is another class called B, so for which we have instantiated and object B has been created. So there are two objects, object A and object B, on separate memory locations. But object A hasn't been used for a long time. We are not using object A and it's sitting idly in the memory without making use of it. So Java has a feature, if any objects are not in use for a long time and they are sitting idly, then they will be removed. That memory will be used for some other objects which are in need of. So those objects will be garbage collected. So this process is called garbage collection. So since that memory can be perfectly used or I can say powerfully used for some useful purpose, so the performance will be very good with Java. So this is how Java does automatic memory management. As a Java, another feature is it's both a compiler and interpreter. What does that mean? When we write any Java program, so Java program, when a source code is being written, that source code has to be saved with .java extension. So any source code or any Java program we write, we need to save it with .java extension. So when we write .java file, that .java file has to be compiled to see are there any errors. So compiler, the job of the compiler is to convert the source code into a bytecode. It is nothing but, it is called as a dot class or dot class file. So dot Java file, a source file, will be converted to dot class file. What is the class file? Dot class file? A dot class file is nothing but a bytecode. So compiler's job is to convert a source code into dot class file. So what happens once we get a class file? Java has an interpreter which takes this dot class file, which has all this bytecode information, and the dot class file will be sent to JVM. So what is JVM? JVM stands for Java Virtual Machine. JVM stands for Java Virtual Machine. So what is the job of interpreter here is to convert or to send dot class file to JVM. So what does JVM do here? JVM, Java Virtual Machine, it performs the following steps. First, initially, it verifies the class file, which is nothing but the bytecode. It verifies the bytecode using, it has a feature, or it has something called bytecode verifier. The JVM has bytecode verifiers. So with the help of it verifies the bytecode. Are there any errors? So initially I said a compiler, if there are any errors, it will display the errors before converting into dot class file. Those are called compilation errors, like syntax errors, or like if you are missing a semicolon, or if you are missing any syntactical problem, those will be displayed as compilation errors before it is converted as dot class file. It's the job of compiler. Whereas once a dot class file is created, the job of interpreter is, or the job once it has been sent to JVM, the JVM, it verifies the bytecode, and those bytecodes, if there are any errors at that point, those are called runtime errors, right? Like example, there might be something like an object which hasn't been initialized properly or instantiated properly. So there is some null value which is being passed to that. So some examples of runtime errors will be like null pointer exceptions. So that means those are like application related errors, and those are not syntactical errors, but there is something problem with your coding itself and some logic within your code. So a bytecode verification will be done, and if there are any errors, those will be displayed. If everything is fine, then that class file, that dot class file, will be loaded into memory using class loader. So class loader job is to load that dot class file into memory. So once that is being loaded, now the execution takes place and we'll see the output displayed onto the screen. So this is the job of a JVM. So Java, it does both the things. It's a compiler as well as interpreter. So both of it will be taken care by the Java, and it does a perfect thing. So if usually JVM will be available on every operating system, on most of the operating systems I can say, but if JVM is not available, then there will be .jvm chip available. We can download that, and you can install it along with your operating systems, and you can make use of it. But nowadays with most of the operating systems, it is inbuilt, and it does all these steps. So the next feature of Java we have seen is it supports OOP concepts, which are object-oriented programming. So what are the OOP concepts? So in any interview, if you go and if they ask you what are OOP concepts, you can simply remember it's a very easy thing to remember, it's a pie. You can say it's a piece of cake. So how is it a pie? A stands for abstraction, P stands for polymorphism, I stands for inheritance, E stands for data encapsulation or encapsulation. So let's see in detail what does abstraction means, polymorphism means, inheritance means, and encapsulation means. Abstraction. It is also called data abstraction, or you can say abstraction. So what is abstraction? The process of abstraction in Java is used to hide certain details and only show the essential features of the object. So what does that mean? I can give a best example for this. Suppose you have a car. So you make use of a car, you drive the car. But do you really care of what a car will have? It will have an engine, it will have a steering, it will have tires, it will have so many others, windows, seats, etc. Do you really care how an engine is created, how a steering is created, or how they have been manufactured? Do we really care? No, we don't. We just care about, we know that it's a car, and we just make use of the car object. So, how does this reflect to abstraction, or how does this is related? So, if we take, and another thing is, so for any car, it might be of any different model, an Acura or a Lexus or Honda or whatever, it has all these features, the same features, an engine, a steering, tires, etc. So, however, an Acura dealer or Acura model, he wants to develop his car, he will manufacture his car with his own engine type, his own steering type, and different features. Similarly, Honda and similarly others. So, how do we really relate this car to our abstraction? So, let's say I have created a class called class car. So, there is a class car. For that car, we have all these engine and different features. So, in Java, there is something called interfaces. There is I can say as a concept called interfaces. So, we are creating an interface car. For interface car, it has all the methods related to the car, like details of the car to be known, or to order a car, or so and so different methods, or which company car, different methods. A method here is in Java is referred to as a function in C, which will have some functionality. So there is an interface car. In that it has different methods. But in an interface, we do not provide any functionality, the real functionality for that car. We just specify, we just define, or we just give the specification of a method and we just leave it. So an interface is the one which will have just the specifications of methods without any functionality. So an Acura company car, or Acura dealer, or Acura model person will take that car interface and he will implement the methods in that interface as his own type, whatever he needs for. And Honda company dealer or Honda person will take that same car interface and take those methods and implement in his own class whatever way he wants. Similarly, Lexus. So that means an interface is basically it's the specification of the method without any functionality. We are hiding the details. We are basically abstraction. What it is doing is we are hiding the details within those methods. We are not writing any functionality for them. We are not just it's a declaration of a method. We are not providing any functionality within the interface. It's just the declaration of a method. And the actual details is within the implementations of abstraction, where the details will be hidden or will be hidden underneath, and only the essential features of that object will be shown. So this is the interfaces and abstract classes are the best examples of abstraction with Java. So what advantage we are getting is the persons or the objects which are exactly in need of, they'll be seeing the details but not the high level. So the next feature of OOPS is polymorphism. What does that mean is behaving differently at different contexts. So what does that mean? The best example for this is method overloading or operator overloading. So what is that is? In Java, there is a plus operator. This plus operator, when it is being taken between two integer values or two number values, then the plus operator, it acts as an addition operator. So the plus operator in between two number values, it behaves as an addition operator. So when I say 2 is a number, another 2 is a number, so when I say 2 plus 2, the plus operator between these two number values, it acts as an addition operator and we get the sum as 4. Whereas the same plus operator, if we have taken in between along with a string, so if the plus operator is being used with a string and a number or between strings, a string is nothing but I can say collection of characters. So when it is being taken or used between a string and a number, like Java is a string, plus is the operator, 5 is a number. So when that plus operator is used within a string and a number, it acts as a concatenation operator. It appends. So for Java string, the 5 number is appended and the result is Java 5. Similarly, Java is another string and world is another string. When this plus operator is being used within these two strings, then the appending or the concatenation of both the strings results to Java world. So what is it trying to say? So the plus operator is behaving as a differently in two different contexts. At one context, it is behaving as an addition operator, and another context, it is behaving like a concatenation operator. So polymorphism concept is it behaves differently at different contexts. So Java supports this polymorphism concept and method overloading. So different methods, they can be behaved differently at different times with same specification. So we can, if you don't understand these, do not worry. I'm just trying to give the feature and theoretical concept at this point. We will be seeing in detail programmatically how Java supports all these concepts and all these features through programmatically. We'll be writing number of programs in the upcoming webinar. So I'm just trying to give you the explanation or the theoretical concepts of these different features. And the next concept of OOPS is inheritance. So what is inheritance? Acquiring properties of parent to its child. So the word itself is saying inheritance, inheriting. So that means already I have said in Java, we'll be writing Java programs, Java source code by using class. So there is a class A with some functionality defined in it. For I can say like addition of two numbers is a functionality. There is another class called B where in it has a functionality called multiplication of two numbers. So there are two classes, class A and class B. Class A has addition of two numbers and class B has subtraction of two numbers. Now, there is another class called C. help of inheritance concept. So in class C, the class C, I can say class C extends class A. So the class A functionality, which is addition, is available to class C now. So in class C, we do not have to redefine the addition functionality. We are inheriting from the parent class A. So the parent class is A here and the child class is C. So in the child class, we are just getting the features or the properties from its parent class. What is the advantage of inheritance? Reusability. We need not recode or duplicate the code everywhere. So once a functionality is available, that functionality can be reused n number of times wherever you would like to use with the help of inheritance concept. And the next concept of OOPS is data encapsulation. Now what does this mean? A wrapping up of data within methods is data encapsulation. So what is this is? So in Java, I said there is a class. Within the class, we define methods. Methods are like functions. So we define methods. Within the method, we will make use of variables. So we will declare variables, and with the help of those variables, we assign some value, some data to them. So here, the data encapsulation, what does it mean is, we can basically, with the help of data encapsulation, there are access specifiers in Java through which we give accessibility to different variables or to different methods or even to class in Java. So access specifiers are those with which give the accessibility. So there are different access specifiers like public, private, protected, default. So these are different access specifiers which have their own, which means each specifier means something. Like public means it's available to everything. Private, it means it's available to some specific classes, or I can say. So with the help of these specifiers, we say something like we'll specify to a variable or to method. So we are restricting the user to make use of those variables if we don't want them to be used outside of the environment. We are restricting the users how we wanted those variables or those data has to be accessed outside the environment. So if we want something like this has to be private or this has to be applicable to only this class, we can use a private access specifier and we can restrict the user so that cannot be accessed from another class or from another environment. So basic advantage of encapsulation here is we are hiding the data. Data hiding is achieved with data encapsulation, and this is really one of the best feature of OOPS. So Java supports these features. So we have seen the OOPS concept, like I can say a pie, abstraction, polymorphism, inheritance, and encapsulation. So Java supports all these features, and we will be seeing in detail programmatically each of these features and how we create programs with them. So the next feature of Java is multi-threading. So how does Java support, or how does Java do multi-threading? So before seeing multi-threading, we'll see what a thread is. A thread means it's a sequential flow of execution. So basically a thread means it's a sequential flow of execution. So Java, it supports a multi-threading concept, which is really a good concept. What does this mean is, what we can achieve with multi-threading is multitasking can be achieved. That means at a time or at the same time, another task can also be done. So both threads, thread T1 and thread T2, both the threads can act simultaneously on different tasks, I can say. So as well as we can restrict, we can say synchronization of threads can be done. So we can log the thread. I can say thread T1 do this task and stop another task until the task 1 is done. We can log the thread, which can be achieved through synchronization of threads. So Java supports this multi-threading concept. It's really a very good concept, and we can see n number of programs through threads, how Java supports all these features, and programmatically how we can write. The next feature of Java is networking. What does this mean? Basically, let's see what a network means. Then, two or more systems, more than two systems, they share the resources, then they are said to be network. So there are two systems, when they share some resources, then we say they are in network. So how does, through the network, the data transmission will happen? That is through protocols. So the data has to be transmitted or has to be transmitted across these systems. The transmission of the data will be taken place with the help of protocols. So Java, it has built-in classes which support, which implements both connection-oriented as well as connection-less protocols. There are so many classes, built-in classes in Java which support networking, through which we can do networking. So we can see programmatically how these things can be achieved with Java. So these were some of the features of Java. Apart from that, security is, Java supports security. So very good security can be achieved or can be done with Java. So these were some of the features, or these were the conceptually I can say what Java does and what are the features of Java. So we have seen like the features and concepts. Let's see how a basic Java program looks like. A basic Java program looks something like this, where from line 1 to 4, which have been written in slash asterisk and asterisk slash, are said to be commenting or commentation. Java supports single line commenting, multi-line commenting. Now what does that mean? So in the comments, you can write what the program below is for, what is the functionality it is doing. So you can give some information about that program in a comment. You can write in a comment, as well as who has written that program or who has created that program and when that program was created. So you can give some information so that another developer or another programmer can understand what is it saying. So there comes a new programmer. So by seeing that information, he will know, oh, what is this class or what is this program is saying about. So comments are basically used to say something related to the program. The line 5 is the actual where your program starts. So in the line 5, it says public space class space hello Java. What does that mean? Public, as I said, is an access specifier. Now what is it? A public access specifier means this particular class can be accessed from anywhere, from even outside of the package. So what is a package here? I can say a package can be referred to as a directory. If we compare with C or C++, we can say a package is referred to as a directory and a class can be referred to as directory as we will have different files. Similarly, in a package, we can have n number of classes. So why do we need packages? Is because to avoid conflict. Like there can be same name of the class which can be used for some purpose else. So we can use the same class name across different packages. And this class means in this package, this class is for one purpose, and in another package, the same class name is meant for some other purpose. So basically, to avoid naming conflicts, we use packages, as well as to put similar source code under one package or one directory. So public is the access specifier, which means this class can be accessed across any package or across packages. Class is a keyword. It's called reserved keyword, which means usually reserved keywords should not be used for any naming convention, either for a class or for variables or for method declarations. So reserved keywords, they have their own purpose or they have their own meaning. So class is a reserved word, reserved keyword, which is meant to define or to specify the name of the class. So when I say class space, we need to specify the name of the class. So that means Hello Java is the name of the class. For this program, Hello Java is the name of the class. It is being defined with the keyword. So Hello Java is the name of the class file, and the convention for class files should be all the first letter should be capital letters. So H is capital here since is the name of the class. In Java is case sensitive, and as well as it has some convention. A method declaration should be with all small letters. Classes, first letter should be caps, and if it's a two word, second word starting letter, like in Hello Java, the first word is hello. In the first word, first letter is H, which is cap, and in the second word, first letter A is cap. If it's a two-lettered word, in every word, starting letter should be capital. So there are some conventions in Java which we need to follow. So Hello Java is the name of the file. Hello Java is name of the class, and as well as Hello Java is the name of the file also. So when you save this Java program, you have to save the name with the same name of the class name. So the name of the file should also be Hello Java with .java extension. So within that class, in the line 6, it's called method declaration. Public, static, void, main. Within the main method, within the parenthesis, it's array of strings, space, argl. What does this mean? Public is again a specifier, access specifier to that main method. Static, it's a reserved keyword, which means it is allocating some memory. In Java, if we wanted to make use of any of the methods, we need to allocate a memory to it. Without allocation of memory, we cannot make use of its functionality or we cannot access it. So static keyword allocates some memory before the invocation. Void, it is the return type for that main method. Main is the name of the method. What does void means is, what a return type is the one which means it's returning something. So the method or the function is returning something. So void here means it's not returning anything. It's just displaying. void. It means nothing. It doesn't return any value, but it displays. We can display something. And here, public static void. Here the static and the public can be interchanged. We can say static public void as well. And within the main method parenthesis, there is a string object, array of strings, space args. The purpose of this is whenever we are entering, whenever we want to pass some values through command prompt. So these, to access the command line arguments, the array of string is used. So args is the reference variable to that string array object. And within the main method, what is the functionality we are writing? And before going to that, every class has to be like public class hello Java. After that, there is a break. So a class functionality starts after the break, after the flower braces. And the ending of that class is at the line 9. So the class is ending at line 9 with the help of ending flower brace. Similarly, at the line 6, the method functionality starts after the flower brace. So public static void main within the parenthesis array of string args is called the declaration of the method. It's just the specification of the method. The functionality of that is within the brace. What is the functionality of this main method? It is at the line 7. It is doing, which is just printing system.out.println. And within that, there is something like a message called hello Java. So, system is a class. It's a class. It's a predefined class. It's already available. And that class is from java.lang package. For all Java programs, java.lang is a default package. So in this program, we did not write any package. So that means this class is available or is present in java.lang package. Similarly, system is a predefined class within a java.lang package. System class has a method called out. So out is a method within the system class. And out method, within that method there is another method called println. Yes, this method is responsible. Out, it will display onto the console. Println, out, it refers to console, and println, it displays the output onto that console. So println will print. And print, it will print at the same line. Println, it will display as in a new line. The next, if you use any more println, then it will display the next line. So what we are printing here, hello Java. So what is this program, Java program is doing is, it's trying to print a message onto the console called hello space Java. So this is how you write any, or I can say this is how you write a basic Java program, a Java program. And the important thing here is, for any class in Java, the entry and exit point will be through only main method. So the main is the entry and exit point for any Java program. For hello Java program, through this main method only its functionality starts. So if you want to call some other method, that has to be through the main method only. So let's run this Java program, and let's compile and run this Java program and see how it behaves.
And Pranavi, while you're doing that, I just wanted to quickly mention that, If audience has any questions, feel free to send them to the chat message. We have a few coming through, and I know that it is running close to the 1 hour, but we will take an extra 5 minutes to run through this webinar and finish it. So, uh, just so you know, don't feel that we'll end it sharply if since the concepts are going well, and we will be finishing the entire webinar and then answering any questions, and it will go possibly over an hour. Go ahead, Pranavi.
Thank you. So I said, like, for writing a basic Java program, we need a JDK, which I said we can download from sun.com, and as well as we need either a notepad or textpad. So this is a textpad in which I have written a Java program. So here, these are called /*/ are called comments. So with the textpad, usually it displays in different colors. If it's a Java reserved words, it displays in blue color, and it usually will differentiate with the colors. So here in the comments, I have written like it's a basic Java program. It was created by me, and so and so. Suppose it's something like February 2nd. So these are the comments I have written for this program, and this is the program. So let's run this, compile this first, run this, and let's see how a compiler will behave, as well as then how an interpreter will behave and how it displays onto the program. So here, what is the name of the class here? It's Hello Java. I said for any Java program, it's a necessary, it's a rule I can say, to have the name of the class and the file name has to be the same. So I have saved this file by the name Hello Java with .java extension. So I have written the name of the class is Hello Java, as well as the name of the file is also Hello Java with .java extension. So let me open a command prompt. So this is the command prompt, and let's compile our Hello Java program. So I'll say Java compiler. C stands for compiler. So Java C, the compiler. We are compiling which program? Hello Java.java. We are compiling this program, and I say enter. Since JDK is already available in my system, it runs fine. If you do not have JDK, then your Java C will give an error. So Java C, the Java file now, Hello Java file has been compiled. Now let's see how the class file is, or where, or how is the class file look like. So when I say dir, in that file, hellojava.java is the file, and now it's 3 p.m. At 3 p.m., hellojava.class file is created. So it says .class file has been created for this Java file. So hellojava.class file is there. So what a compiler did? The compiler converted the source code into .class file, which means into bytecode. It converted into bytecode. A .class file is bytecode. So now what's the job of interpreter? We have to submit it to interpreter so that it has to do it will submit to JVM, and JVM will do some tasks, and we have to see the output. So what output do we need to see on the screen? We have to see hello space Java. So what is the interpreter is? Java is the interpreter. Space, you need to specify the name of the class file without .class extension. So what is the name of the class file? It will be usually the name of your file name. The file name and the .class file will be same. That's why you need to specify your class file and the source file save extension should be one and the same. Hello Java. So Java space hello Java and enter. Now that with without any dot class extension, you have to, we are sending it to the interpreter. The interpreter job is to display the output onto the console. So it is displayed onto the console as hello space Java. So we have seen on the output on the screen on the console as hello space Java. So this is how a Java program works. So what I'll do is, let me change the name of the class to hello Java 1. Change this to hello Java 1, but I did not give any I did not change the name of the file. I put the same name and I just changed the name of the class. So let's run that, or let's compile it again and see what it will say. Java C hello Java Java. So now I got a compilation error stating class hello Java 1 is public, should be declared in a file named hello Java 1.java. So since the name of the class is changed to hello Java 1, we need to save the file with the same name. So both the name of the class and the file name should be one and the same. So let's rename this, or I can say I'll save as hello Java 1.java. I'll save this and I'll save. Now let's see dir. So we have hello Java 1.java, but there is no dot class file here. So let's compile this file, Java C. And before doing that, let me change the so I'll give another message, hello Java world, I'll say, and I'll save this. And now I'll compile this. Hello Java 1.java. Now let's compile this. Now it's compiled. So now we have hello Java 1.class file, which has converted to bytecode. So let's run that. Hello Java 1. Now which message do we need to get? We need to get the message as hello Java world. So now we got the message as hello Java world. So this is how a Java program will get compiled, will get run, and how it looks like. So this is how a basic Java program looks like, and what does it mean? The minimum things. So I'll end the session at here. I mean, before ending, any of the questions you have, you can go on. We'll have a Q&A session, and in the upcoming. So in order to learn Java, if we wanted to become Java professionals, we need to, what do we need to get trained? We need to learn core Java concepts. I can say Java entire subject can be divided into 3 categories, like core Java, which means the basics of Java, so how Java programming looks like, and advanced Java with some more functionalities like more collectors and more functionalities, and enterprise Java, which are like all the J2E technologies with really new frameworks like Struts, Spring, and Hibernate, and with all the new frameworks, as well as web services. So most of the applications will be developed on, nowadays are developed on J2E, like the enterprise Java. So if you wanted to learn J2E, we need to really have a sound knowledge of core Java and advanced Java. So in our upcoming webinars, we'll be seeing more sessions on and more detailedly about Java programming concepts on core Java, advanced Java programming, J2E, web services, different new frameworks, and what are application servers, how do you configure them. So we'll be seeing really more in detail in the upcoming webinars.
Okay. Thank you, Pranavi. That was an excellent webinar. I learned a bunch of stuff too, so I'm really glad I, had this opportunity here. We'll give the audience a few minute or so to type in any questions. I see actually two questions which are actually similar. Um, one of them says, "Do you do training class?" And the other one says, "I don't have programming background, but I'm interested in pursuing career in Java." Um, so, and will my project help train me? So, the answer is really yes. I mean, as I said in the beginning of the webinar, myprojecthelp.com, our goal is to help people get started in a career, help people, learn about stuff, and we try to do it in a very cost-effective manner with really excellent professionals. We do have training courses in a lot of subjects, including Java, and we'll be posting some of the details on the web. But actually, right away, if you are interested in finding about getting started in a training class in Java, please send us an email at support@myprojecthelp.com, and you'll be very pleased with some of the professionals we have who teach these classes. They're really just plain excellent. Um, and as I said again, myprojecthelp.com is really all about helping people, entry-level professionals, and we have a very wide network of people who are very experienced in a lot of subjects, Java being one of them, and they do a great job talking to people, helping you with career advice, with help getting ready for interviews, and after you even join a job, they actually are available to provide one-on-one help with any projects that you're doing at your customer site, and you may be running into a problem or two, and these professionals can actually help you through those roadblocks and help you be very successful at your jobs. So feel free to shoot us an email at support@myprojecthelp.com, and we'll be more than glad to help you with your training needs. The other question I see is, uh, can you explain inheritance a little bit more, one more time? That concept of inheritance. Pranav, you want to take that?
Pardon, Ravi, I'm sorry.
There was one question about inheritance and can you explain what is inheritance?
Yes, that's what. I'll take it from here.
Yep.
Basically, inheritance, what does it mean is, it means like with the inheritance concept, you will be getting the properties of parents to the child. So basic advantage of inheritance is you have already have the functionality. Someone has already returned the functionality in some of the class. That functionality is already available to you, and you do not have to duplicate it in your class again. So because since the functionality is already available for you, you can just simply call that method and use it in your class. You do not need to again recode that. So the basic advantage of inheritance is we are avoiding the duplication, and as well as reusability is the advantage. So if I want to give you more detail, what I mean is, so there is already a class with some functionality, whatever it might be. Suppose I wanted to, there is something like a class A which has a function called knowing the details of a car. So when I enter a car number, I'll get all the details of that car. What is the model of the car, which year, who is the owner, and so on, so information. So there is a functionality which says details of a car. So in a class A. Now there is another class called B, and in B too, he needs to know the details of the car for some other purpose. He needs to do based on the car details. He has to either if it's an old car, then he may have to retain it, or he's using that for some purpose. So he needs the same functionality, that is to get the details of the car. Based on the details of the car, he's doing something else. So instead of again writing the same details of the car method, same code, he can use it from class A. So he can simply say class B extends class A. Extends is a reserved keyword for inheritance in Java. So when I say class B extends class A, then in class A, the details of a car method functionality will be available in the child class called B. So the parent class here is A. So in the parent class, whatever the functions or methods are available, all those methods functionality will be available in your child class called B. Then you are just making use of it. So you are just making a call to it. That's all. You need not. I mean, in the class B, it's automatically available when you say when you inherit using extends keyword. So basic advantage of inheritance, as I said, is reusability. I hope I have answered your question. If it's
Yeah.
not clear, let me know.
Yeah, the questioner actually has said, thank you. And considering that the timing, we have been running over time here, I would like to thank Pranavi for her taking the time and helping us learn about or getting introduced to Java. We will be having more advanced webinars on Java. We'll be having a part 2 of this thing, which will get into a few more concepts. So watch out for that on our website at myprojecthelp.com. And again, if you need any, if you would like to pursue some sort of a training, or if you have any interest in a different subject, feel free to send us an email saying that, hey, can you do a webinar on, C++, for instance, and we will look into those inquiries, and, we will present to you newer topics as well. So again, thank you everybody for your attention and for your time and for coming here and joining myprojecthelp.com's webinar on Java. And we will hopefully see you again soon on another webinar in the near future. Thank you. Thank you, Pranavi.